The hall grows quiet, as if some invisible hand has dimmed not only the lights, but also the inner chatter of your restless mind. You are waiting for truth, not the kind written in textbooks, but the kind that rises from the depths of forgotten rivers within the soul. I stand before you, not as a prophet, not as a priest, but as a guide of shadows. My words tonight are not meant to console, but to awaken, because what I am about to reveal may unsettle you, may even disturb you, but it is necessary for the liberation of your spirit. You have heard the story of the empath and the narcissist many times. It has become a modern myth, a tale retold on stages and in therapy rooms, where one soul is cast as the healer, the giver, the boundless lover, and the other as the taker, the manipulator, the devourer. The empath weeps, the narcissist consumes, and the cycle turns endlessly. But what if I tell you that this story is not complete? What if there lies beneath it a reversal so dark, so paradoxical, that it exposes not only the suffering of the empath, but also their complicity? What if in the shadow of the empath, hidden deep in the unconscious, sleeps the very same hunger that animates the narcissist? Do not be so quick to recoil, for truth rarely flatters us. Truth burns like the sudden flare of light in a cave where we have sat too long in the dark. The empath and the narcissist are not merely two opposing archetypes locked in eternal struggle. They are mirror images, two faces of the same archetypal coin, born of the same wound, children of the same primordial hunger, the longing to be seen, to be recognized, to be validated as real. Consider the empath. They say, I feel too much. They walk into a room and immediately sense the unspoken currents, the silent despair, the unhealed traumas of others. They bend, they adapt, they absorb, and in doing so, they believe themselves selfless, almost saint-like. But beneath this devotion lies a secret bargain. If I feel your pain deeply enough, if I make myself indispensable to your healing, perhaps you will never leave me. Perhaps you will give me what I could not receive in the fragile dawn of my own life. And the narcissist, they cry, the same cry, though it emerges cloaked in armor and disguise. Their wound whispers, if I shine brightly enough, if I demand attention, if I control your gaze, then perhaps I will never again be invisible. Both are orphans of the same neglect. Both are abandoned children of the psyche. One learned to seduce the world by caring for its wounds. The other learned to seduce by commanding its gaze. But do you not see? They are bound to each other by the same hunger. The empath feeds the narcissist with devotion, and the narcissist feeds the empath with meaning. Without each other, they are empty. Together, they recreate the ancient wound. This is the dark reversal. The empath is not merely victim, nor is the narcissist merely predator. They are twin conspirators in a dance of shadows. One offers the wound, the other accepts it, and both are enslaved by the same archetypal script. Now, I want you to descend with me deeper, for this is not a matter of personality traits or modern labels. This is an archetypal drama unfolding in the collective unconscious. Think of myths, of gods, of the symbolic language that has always spoken truth when words fail. The empath is Persephone, the maiden drawn into the underworld by Hades, yet part of her yearns for the depths, for in the darkness she discovers her hidden power. The narcissist is Hades, lord of shadows, who seizes and consumes, yet without Persephone, he is condemned to reign over emptiness. Their union is tragic, yet it binds heaven and hell, summer and winter, light and dark. Can you see now why they find each other, why the empath cannot resist the narcissist, and why the narcissist cannot exist without the empath? But beware of illusions. The empath convinces themselves that their sacrifice is noble, that by giving endlessly they prove their worth. Yet this very giving is a mask, for underneath it lies an unconscious demand. Love me back, prove that I matter. The narcissist convinces themselves that their domination is strength, that their hunger is entitlement, yet underneath it lies the same plea, do not abandon me again. Two children crying for the same mother. Though one cries with silence and the other with thunder, do you feel the weight of this reversal? It is not meant to condemn, but to awaken, for as long as the empath clings to the illusion of purity, they will remain chained to the narcissist's darkness, and as long as the narcissist clings to their illusion of superiority, they will remain enslaved to the empath's devotion. Both are imprisoned by shadows. They refuse to name. Now let me speak to you directly. For some of you sitting here tonight have lived this story. You gave everything, your love, your time, your energy, until you were a ghost of yourself. And you told yourself, I do this because I am good, because I am strong, because I was born to heal. But what if I tell you that your giving was also a form of control? That you gave so much not because you were free, but because you were terrified of being abandoned, that your empathy, so beautiful and rare, was also a mask hiding your fear of invisibility? Do not misunderstand me. I am not here to shame you. I am here to give you back your power. Because the moment you see that your empathy is also shadow, that your selflessness is also hunger, you begin to awaken. You begin to see that you are not condemned to forever serve the narcissist's script. You can choose to feel without absorbing, to love without losing, to give without vanishing. But first, you must descend into the reversal. You must admit that the narcissist you despise is also within you. Every empath carries a hidden narcissist, just as every narcissist carries a hidden empath. In your dreams, you may have seen this, a figure who shifts shape at first tender, compassionate, radiant with love, and then suddenly cold, demanding, terrifying. This dream figure is the archetype itself, the union of empath and narcissist in one body. It comes to remind you that what you reject outside lives also inside. And only by integrating this shadow can you free yourself from repeating the cycle. This is why I tell you, stop running from the narcissist, for they are your teacher. They force you to confront the hunger you hide. They drag you into the underworld of your own shadow, where you must face the truth of your own wound. And yes, it is painful. Yes, it feels like betrayal, like humiliation, like death itself. But only in that descent does the reversal reveal itself. Only in that dark mirror Do you see who you truly are? The empath dreams of saving the narcissist, but the real salvation is to save yourself from the illusion of being savior. The narcissist dreams of owning the empath, but the real liberation is to admit the wound that no possession can ever heal. Until then, both remain locked in a dance that drains life, devours joy, and repeats endlessly across generations. I tell you this not as a moral tale, but as a psychological initiation. For if you are willing to face this reversal, you will find hidden within it a doorway. On the other side of the door lies not only healing, but wholeness. Because the truth is this: you are neither empath nor narcissist. These are roles, masks, archetypes. Beneath them is the self, vast and luminous, containing both shadow and light. The empath is not your essence, nor is the narcissist your enemy. They are fragments, shards of a greater whole. And only by holding them both can you become who you truly are. The air in this hall grows heavier as I speak, not because these words are condemning, but because they demand honesty. You cannot walk away from this lecture unchanged if you let the truth sink into your bones. Look around you, not at the faces, but at the archetypal drama being enacted in your relationships, in your family, in the silent spaces of your heart. You will see the reversal everywhere once your eyes are opened. And so I say, dare to descend, dare to face the reversal, for only in the embrace of shadow does the self emerge. And in that emergence, you will no longer need to play empath to be loved, nor narcissist to be seen. You will stand as yourself, radiant, a whole, unchained. Do you sense the trembling in your chest when I speak of this mirror between empath and narcissist? It is not merely the trembling of fear, it is recognition somewhere within. You know this truth, though you may have buried it beneath years of narratives, beneath the armor of virtue or the mask of strength. But the unconscious does not forget. It whispers in your dreams, in your repeating patterns, in the strange magnetism that keeps pulling you toward the very people who wound you. The psyche is not cruel, but it is relentless. It will not allow you to escape the lessons you refuse to learn. Imagine a dream. You walk into a hall of mirrors. At first, you see yourself as the one who heals, the one who suffers nobly, the one who gives endlessly. But as you move deeper into the hall, the mirrors begin to shift. Your reflection grows sharp, demanding, hungry. Your eyes look back at you with a strange coldness, a hidden fire of entitlement. You recoil. This is not me. But the mirror does not lie. It reveals the rejected fragments of your soul, the parts you exiled long ago. This is shadow, and the empath's shadow is often the narcissist. Now turn the mirror around. The narcissist, so proud, so consumed with image and control, is haunted by another reflection. Behind the mask of grandeur lies a frightened child, desperate to be held, to be understood, to be loved for who they are, rather than what they perform. This is their hidden empath, the part of them that once felt deeply but was crushed under neglect, humiliation, or ridicule. To survive, they buried it. But the psyche does not allow burial. without consequence. What is repressed returns in distorted form. The narcissist who cannot feel becomes addicted to being felt by others. The empath who cannot demand becomes addicted to being needed. This is the tragic symmetry, the dark reversal that no one wishes to see. Empaths and narcissists are not enemies from different worlds, but estranged twins carrying each other's disowned selves. When they meet, it is recognition disguised as attraction. The empath says, "Here is someone I can heal, and in healing them, I will heal myself." The narcissist says, "Here is someone who will give me everything, and in taking from them, I will finally be whole." Both are deceived. Both are mistaken, because what they seek outside is the very thing they must claim within. But the unconscious is cunning. It knows that the only way to awaken you is through conflict, through repetition, through the unbearable tension of opposites. This is why you find yourself bound to the very one who wounds you, as if some invisible thread ties your souls together. It is not punishment. It is initiation. The empaths must face their hidden narcissism. The narcissists must face their buried empathy. Only then can the cycle break. Think of the alchemists, those ancient seekers of transformation. They spoke of the conjunctio oppositorum, the union of opposites. They believed that the philosopher's stone, the symbol of ultimate wholeness, could only be created when sun and moon, king and queen, light and shadow, were united in the vessel. The empath and the narcissist enact this alchemical drama in the vessel of relationship. Their torment, their passion, their collapse into each other is not meaningless chaos. It is the psyche's attempt at union. But unless they become conscious of the archetypal forces at play, they are consumed by the fire rather than transformed by it. Let me tell you of a patient. She was the archetypal empath, gentle, intuitive, always sacrificing. She had given her life to a man who belittled her, controlled her, drained her spirit. She came to me saying, "Why do I love someone who destroys me?" For months, she spoke of his cruelty, his lies, his endless hunger. But one day, in a dream, she stood before a mirror, and in the reflection, she saw not herself but him. She awoke in terror. She realized that what she hated in him was alive within her. His arrogance was her buried rage. His hunger was her disowned desire. His coldness was her own refusal to feel her needs. The dream shattered her illusion. She wept, not only for him, but for herself. It was the beginning of her liberation. This is the reversal. What you condemn in the narcissist is often the very thing you cannot face in yourself. What you admire in the empath may be the very disguise that hides your fear. The psyche is merciless in its honesty. It will use others as mirrors until you finally recognize your own face. Do you see why I insist that you descend into this paradox? Without this descent, you will repeat the cycle, endlessly changing partners, changing faces, but always reenacting the same archetypal drama. You will call yourself victim, healer, savior, and you will wonder why your love is never enough. Or you will call yourself strong, untouchable, dominant, and you will wonder why you are never satisfied. The names change, the faces change, but the shadow remains. Now let us go deeper still. Beneath empathy and narcissism lies the archetype of the mother. Both empath and narcissist are children who were not truly seen by the maternal figure, the one who should have mirrored their existence, who should have said, I see you, you are real, you are enough. The empath internalized the absence as, if I give enough, maybe I will be loved. The narcissist internalized the absence as, if I demand enough, maybe I will be seen. Both are children frozen in time, trapped in a psychic wound. That becomes the stage for all future love. This is why their relationship is so magnetic. Each carries the other's missing half. The empath sees in the narcissist the confidence they never claimed. The narcissist sees in the empath the tenderness they lost. They rush together like two rivers seeking union. But instead of union, they often create a flood, drowning each other in unmet needs. The empath gives too much, the narcissist takes too much, and both collapse. Yet even in the collapse, the unconscious whispers, see the mirror, see yourself. Here's the challenge. Can you hold this mirror without running? Can you see the narcissist not only as destroyer, but as reflection of your own shadow? Can you see the empath not only as victim, but as mirror of your buried tenderness? If you can, then the reversal becomes transformation. The empath learns to draw boundaries, to feel without absorbing, to give without bargaining. The narcissist learns to feel vulnerability, to admit need, to love without control. Both discover that beneath the masks lies the self, vast, luminous, a whole. But this is no easy path. It requires death, the death of illusions, the death of masks, the death of the false self that clings to its narrative. For the empath, it is the death of the savior identity. For the narcissist, it is the death of the tyrant mask. And in their place, something more ancient, more real, more sacred arises. Do not think this death is only metaphorical. It feels like death itself. To let go of the story that has defined you, I am the one who gives, or I am the one who controls, is to lose the ground beneath your feet. It is to enter the abyss of not knowing. But it is in that abyss that the self waits. It is in that void that you discover the wholeness you sought outside. So I say to you, if you are an empath, dare to confront your hidden narcissism. Ask yourself, what do I secretly demand when I give? Dare to see that your endless compassion may also be a mask for fear. And if you are a narcissist, dare to confront your hidden empathy. Ask yourself, what tenderness have I buried in shame? Dare to admit that your hunger for attention is also a cry for love. This is the work of individuation. It is not about becoming good or bad, victim or victor. It is about becoming whole. And wholeness requires shadow. Wholeness demands that you hold the paradox without fleeing to one side or the other. Look again at the myth of Persephone and Hades. She descends into the underworld, stolen, consumed, but in time she becomes queen of that underworld. She is no longer victim. She discovers her own power in the very place of darkness. So too must the empath descend, not to remain in chains, but to discover sovereignty. And Hades, though Lord of Shadows, cannot rule without her. His kingdom is barren without her light. The narcissist too must learn that power without tenderness is emptiness. Together they enact the eternal dance of descent and return And so I tell you, the empath and the narcissist are not accidents. They are archetypal roles that the psyche weaves into the fabric of our relationships to awaken us. They are initiations disguised as tragedies. If you survive the descent, you emerge transformed, you emerge whole. You no longer cling to the mask of empath or narcissist. You stand as the self-vast, unshaken, radiant. You must understand the psyche is not interested in your comfort. It is not invested in protecting the fragile identities you cling to. It is concerned only with wholeness, with the union of what has been torn apart, and so it draws to you precisely those encounters that will break your masks. If you wear the mask of the empath, the psyche will send you the narcissist, because only through their devouring hunger will you see the shadow side of your giving. If you wear the mask of the narcissist, the psyche will send you the empath, because only through their relentless mirroring will you feel the weight of your buried wounds. This is not cruelty, this is initiation. Do not think of initiation as ceremony. It is not robes and incense and sacred chants. It is the shaking of the foundations of your being, the collapse of who you thought you were. The empath's initiation is to see their martyrdom for what it is, a strategy of survival, a disguised demand for love. The narcissist's initiation is to see their grandiosity for what it is, a fragile wall built to hide unbearable vulnerability. Both must descend into the wound, not as victims, not as tyrants, but as seekers of truth. The dream world reveals this more honestly than the waking one. I recall a dream recounted by a man who lived his life as the perfect caretaker, an empath who never allowed himself anger. In his dream, he stood in a banquet hall, feeding others from a silver tray, but the faces of those he fed were grotesque, demanding, endless. He fed them until his arms bled, yet still they wanted more. Finally, he screamed in rage and hurled the tray across the hall. In that moment, he woke up, shaken but liberated. The dream showed him what his conscious mind denied. His empathy was not pure love, but a desperate attempt to control the gaze of others. His rage, long buried, had become the shadow that fed his endless sacrifice. Only when he faced it could he begin to love freely. Similarly, I once heard a dream from a woman whose narcissism cloaked her every word in arrogance. She dreamt of walking through a palace lined with mirrors, each reflecting her in regal garments. But when she leaned closer, she saw that the mirrors were filled with cracks, and behind each crack wept a child. The child was her own abandoned self, the tenderness she had disowned. The dream shattered her mask of superiority and revealed the longing she had buried beneath it. These are not isolated stories. They are universal patterns, archetypal truths that play out in every psyche. The empath's banquet, the narcissist's palace of mirrors, these are symbols of the collective unconscious speaking. They tell us that what we reject does not disappear, it becomes shadow, and the shadow rules us until we claim it. And here lies the essence of the dark reversal. You are not only what you appear to be. The empath is not only selfless. Hidden within is hunger, rage, control. The narcissist is not only devouring. Hidden within is tenderness, fragility, longing. When these opposites are split apart, they devour each other. When they are integrated, they become the wholeness of the self. But integration requires courage. You must hold two truths at once without collapsing into one side. Can you, as empath, admit your hidden desire to dominate through sacrifice? Without condemning yourself, can you, as narcissist, admit your hidden need for tenderness without drowning in shame? To hold the paradox is to stand at the threshold of transformation. The alchemists knew this well. They spoke of the nigredo, the blackening, the stage of decay, where all illusions are stripped away. This is what the empath experiences when their giving no longer saves them, when they finally see that their love cannot heal the unhealable. It is what the narcissist experiences when their mask cracks, when no amount of admiration can fill their void. In this blackness, there is despair, but also possibility, for out of the nigredo comes the albedo, the whitening, the birth of new consciousness. Do you see now why the empath and narcissist are drawn to each other? They are each other's alchemical fire. They are the crucible in which shadow is revealed. Without this fiery encounter, they would remain asleep, clinging to illusions of purity or power. With it, they are forced to confront what lies beneath. But I must caution you, not all survive the crucible. Many remain trapped, repeating the cycle, consumed by the fire rather than transformed by it. The empath who refuses to admit their shadow remains bound to endless martyrdom. The narcissist who refuses to admit their wound remains bound to endless hunger. Liberation requires not only suffering, but consciousness. The descent alone does not save you. Only the act of seeing, of integrating, of holding the paradox brings transformation. Let me ask you now, in your own life, who has mirrored your shadow? Who has played the role of narcissist to your empathy, or empath to your narcissism? Do not dismiss these figures as mistakes. They are archetypal messengers. They are the dark teachers sent by your own psyche. Instead of asking, why did they hurt me, ask, what part of myself did they reveal to me? In this shift of question lies the doorway to liberation. You may resist this teaching. You may say, but I was innocent. I gave in love. I did not deserve betrayal, and I will not deny your suffering. It is real, but suffering is not meaningless. It is the language of the unconscious. The pressure that forces the seed to break open the fire that purifies gold. If you can look at your pain not as punishment, but as initiation, you will see that even betrayal carries the face of the self. The empath fears becoming narcissistic, and the narcissist fears becoming vulnerable. Yet only by touching these fears do they become whole. The empath must learn to say no, to feel anger, to claim boundaries. These are not betrayals of their empathy, but the maturation of it. The narcissist must learn to weep, to admit need, to confess fragility. These are not betrayals of their strength, but the awakening of it. This is the paradox. The empath who integrates their shadow becomes strong, radiant, untouchable. The narcissist who integrates their shadow becomes tender, real, capable of true love. Both discover that they were never merely empath or narcissist, but fragments of a greater whole. So I say to you, stop clinging to labels. They are only doors. Beyond them lies the vastness of the self. If you define yourself as empath, you will remain trapped in the cycle. If you define yourself as narcissist, you will remain trapped as well. Go deeper. Ask, what is the archetype behind this role? What is the wound it hides? What is the shadow it reveals? The lecture hall grows still as I speak, for I know these words stir something ancient in you. Perhaps you remember the faces of those who broke you. Perhaps you feel the weight of your own mask. Do not run from this. Let the unease settle in your bones. Let it awaken the part of you that longs for truth more than comfort. Because the dark reversal is not meant to condemn you, it is meant to free you. Once you see that empath and narcissist are mirror twins, you are no longer doomed to the dance. You can step out of the script. You can love without chains, without illusions, without shadow ruling in secret. But to do so, you must descend. You must enter the hall of mirrors. You must face the banquet of endless hunger. You must see yourself in the eyes of the other and not look away. And when you emerge, trembling, rough, stripped of masks, you will discover something greater than empathy, greater than power. You will discover the self, the eternal flame that contains both shadow and light, both hunger and fullness, both wound and healing. This is individuation, this is the path, and though it burns, it liberates, though it shatters, it makes whole. The descent into shadow is never pleasant. It strips away illusions and forces you to meet yourself without disguise. Yet if you can endure this descent, something extraordinary occurs. The empath who dares to claim their hidden hunger no longer bleeds themselves dry for love. They learn that true compassion does not require self-erasure, that to feel another's pain does not mean to absorb it. Their empathy becomes luminous rather than sacrificial, radiant rather than draining. They give because they are full, not because they are empty. And the narcissist who dares to claim their buried tenderness no longer enslaves themselves to the gaze of others. They discover that to be vulnerable is not weakness, but the foundation of genuine strength. They no longer dominate to avoid invisibility. They shine because they have embraced their humanity. Their charisma becomes authentic rather than manipulative. Their power creative rather than destructive. When this reversal is integrated, the polarity dissolves. What was once a destructive dance becomes an alchemical union. Empathy and strength, vulnerability and authority, tenderness and clarity, these opposites no longer devour each other, but serve the self. And the self, vast and timeless, was always waiting beneath the masks, but let us not romanticize this process. The path of individuation is a path of fire. The empath must confront guilt, the deep-seated terror that if they stop giving, they will be abandoned. They must endure the loneliness of standing in their own boundaries. They must feel the rage they once denied, rage that shakes their body and shatters their image of saintliness. Yet beyond this rage lies freedom, for only then can they say, I am not here to be consumed. I am here to live. The narcissist must confront shame, the abyss of worthlessness that their mask was built to conceal. They must endure the collapse of admiration, the unbearable silence when no one is watching. They must feel the grief of the child who was never truly seen, and in that grief they discover tenderness that no mask can destroy. Only then can they say, I do not need your gaze to exist. I am enough. And both are reborn through the death of illusion. And rebirth is not gentle. It tears, it burns, it annihilates what is false. But only in this annihilation does the self reveal itself as eternal flame. Perhaps you wonder, what does this mean for me? It means that every encounter in your life, especially the ones that wound you most deeply, is a message from the unconscious. If you are bound to a narcissist, ask not only, why do they hurt me, but what part of me do they mirror? If you are accused of narcissism, ask not only, why are they against me, but what tenderness have I denied in every conflict? The unconscious speaks. In every betrayal, the shadow knocks at your door. The reversal I reveal tonight is not abstract philosophy. It is the very map of your relationships, the script of your love, the pattern of your wounds. To see it is to awaken. To deny it is to repeat endlessly. And so I call you now to courage, to look into the mirror and not turn away, to stand in the banquet hall and reclaim your tray, to walk through the palace of mirrors and embrace the weeping child, to see that you are both empath and narcissist, victim and tyrant, giver and taker, and to hold these opposites without collapsing into either. This is not easy. Few will do it. Most will cling to their roles because roles feel safe. The empath will keep sacrificing because martyrdom feels noble. The narcissist will keep performing because admiration feels intoxicating. But those who dare to break the cycle will discover a freedom unknown to the rest. They will discover that love does not need chains, that strength does not require masks, that wholeness is found not in purity but in paradox. The mystics have always known this. They spoke of the coincidentia oppositorum, the coincidence of opposites, where God is both light and darkness, both wrath and mercy. The alchemist spoke of the conjunctio, the sacred marriage where king and queen dissolve into gold. The psyche speaks the same truth in every age. Only by embracing what you reject do you become whole. The empath and narcissist are not enemies to be destroyed, but symbols to be integrated. They are the guardians of the threshold, the teachers of paradox. They drag you into the underworld not to annihilate you, but to awaken you. And when you emerge, you will no longer ask, am I empath? Am I narcissist? You will know I am the self, containing both. Listen closely, for this is the final revelation. The dark reversal you never expected is not that the empath becomes the narcissist, or the narcissist becomes the empath. It is that both dissolve into something larger, something timeless, something whole. They dissolve into the self where no polarity can divide, where no mask can hide, where no wound can enslave. And in that wholeness, love is no longer bargaining. It is no longer hunger disguised as sacrifice or domination disguised as strength. Love becomes presence, radiant, free, untouchable. Love becomes the natural expression of the self, flowing without fear, without demand, without mask. This is the path of individuation. This is the journey through shadow. This is the reversal that liberates. So I leave you with this. Do not flee from the one who mirrors your shadow. Do not cling to the mask that keeps you safe. Dare to descend. Dare to see. Dare to integrate. For only in this daring will you discover the eternal truth, that you were never merely empath, never merely narcissist, but always the self, luminous and whole. And now, as the silence settles around us, let these words sink into your bones, not as doctrines, not as commandments, but as living symbols calling you inward. Tonight, you have seen the mirror. The question is whether you will look away or whether you will step through. The choice, as always, is yours.